And yeah, I don't give a damn about no Africa. And they stink. Yeah, ain't some stinky people. Yeah, nigga, fuck Africa. They was born in Africa. They are not us. We ain't no Africa.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to discuss the growing trend among Black Americans saying that they are not African. Stuff like this.
I'm a person, I resent being called an African American. I really do. Now, I've traveled all over the world, and Africa is one of the few places in the world that I've never been yet. Okay?
Don't call me African American no more. Oh, I'm so sick of that right now. Contrary to popular belief, I have to say it, most Africans don't even like American blacks. And if you're in here, take this back to the tribe, damn it.
I don't want to be called an African American. I'm an American. You know what I'm saying? You can call me a Black American, but I'm an American.
Places, when you go fill out a test when you're in school and they ask you this, that, and third, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. And I know we gotta get back to our topics. We already a few minutes in. I'd rather fill in Black than African American. Because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Yo, one thing I'm still lost about is why people still think we're Africans. We don't even look alike. Just like you can tell a difference from an Asian and a Caucasian, even though they could be the same color. We always been here.
It was a clip you had to say like fuck Africa, and
yeah, I don't give a damn about no Africa. Nigga, Africa ain't built no ship and came back over here and rescued one nigga since we left from Africa. Yeah, and Africans don't like us. Yeah, nigga, Africans don't fuck with us. They don't like us, and they stink. Yeah, ain't some stinky people. Yeah, nigga, fuck Africa. Yeah, nigga, they ain't our people. We niggas, slaves. The descendants of slaves. They wasn't never called no nigga. The first group of Africans, only one generation. Now the first group came. They wasn't born into this shit. Me and your people was born into this, homie. They were born slaves. They birth certificates say nigga. They was born in Africa. They are not us. They know what tribe they come from. They had a language. Once they broke them from the language and we was born in these conditions. We ain't no African.
I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
American over African American because I'm not African. I don't know nothing about African culture.
We came from Africa. Like, y'all have to let that go. So they also told us everybody came from Africa, but the main thing is they're saying that Black people come from Africa. No.
All right, let's clear this up. Everybody does not come from Africa. Asians come from Asia. Europeans come from Europe. Everybody does not come from Africa. Everybody comes from Africans. In other words, they came from Africans that migrated to Asia, acclimated to their environment, and experienced many different evolutionary events like mutation, genetic drift, gene flow, bottleneck effects, interbreeding with Neanderthals over tens of thousands of years until they became phenotypically different and culturally different from Africans. The Black people here in Americas left Africa by force or by choice, whether that was before slavery, during slavery, or last week, and they are still phenotypically African. And over the course of this video, I want to show you that they're still very culturally African. Let's start with the food.
American over African American because I'm not African. I don't know nothing about African culture, and I'm from the South. We do mac and cheese, chicken, and crab boils. Okay, I don't see them. Do they do crab boils in Africa? No. Just because they have crab boils in some parts in Africa does not mean that it's not a Southern American dish.
A lot of Black food dishes have their roots in slavery. We got the worst part of the animal and made it scrumptious. But there's a lot of food we brought from Africa to the Americas. Yams, okra.
Okra seed pods are a culinary hit stateside, especially in the South where they feature prominently in local dishes. The plant first arrived in America via slave trade.
The word okra comes from two African languages. The Igbo in West Africa call it okuru, and the Bantu in Central Africa call it ngombo. And if you look at the spelling of the latter, of course you can see the connection to gumbo, a popular Southern dish that's based in okra.
Hibiscus. Watermelon.
The watermelon is one of America's favorite summer fruits. Florida, Georgia, Texas, and California all produce it in huge quantities. But Africans were the first to enjoy its refreshing flavors. In fact, ancient Egyptian pharaohs would be entombed not just with riches, but also watermelons.
Coffee, black-eyed peas.
They are now closely linked to the American South, where they are eaten for luck at New Year. Once again, the plant only reached the continent along the slave routes of West Africa.
Collard greens are from Greece, but it was Africans who brought and cooked them in colonial Virginia.
So we made a lot of good out of what we had. Another of those crops later coming in was collard greens.
One of these dishes is American and one of these dishes is African. And by the end, I'm pretty sure you'll figure out which one is which.
When they would get together, it would be rice, it would be potatoes, it would be okra, it would be greens. It was things that their families grew in their own garden, even as free individuals.
How about this one?
Let's start with Coca-Cola, a classic American drink. No, it's not really African.
I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out. We do know how much Black Americans created here in the U.S. without getting credit for it. It wasn't too long ago that we found out that both Hennessy and Jack Daniels were created by Black people. I wouldn't be surprised if Black people discovered the recipe for Coca-Cola too.
I think Coca-Cola's American, huh? Only thing American about it is that they used to put cocaine in it. The flavor comes from cola nuts out of Africa. You'll find these in West Central Africa from Sierra Leone to Congo.
Cola nuts are used as a flavoring in a number of beverages. They originate from West Africa and give you more of a caffeine kick than coffee.
Cola nuts got the same stimulating effects as coffee. Speaking of coffee.
And finally, coffee. It's every true New Yorker's favorite drink. Countries like Brazil and Colombia have long branded the bean as theirs, but it was actually first discovered in Ethiopia by a goat herder called Kalbi.
It was first found in Ethiopia. They said it was discovered when a goat herder's goats started eating some coffee berry and then started dancing on its hind legs. I could go on all day, because Africa and its people spread all across the globe have given the world so much.
Here's a clip from one of my favorite movies, Coolie High.
Good times. Yeah. Oh. This is for the brothers who ain't here. Hey man, you pouring out our wine.
Yo here beer and your beer fish already. As I say, a slow wabana, the slow famabe. And into the Yajina Hay, we are brave. Sikaso dear man. Dimpa bia hoda skanu hu a wanhwe yi a na wo na eba yem tane sa hada hono ma nti skanu ma na nya.
This is for the brothers who ain't here. Forget them, man. They ain't here. They don't get none. Man, look, there's a lot of brothers that's dead or in jail, and we just got to give them a little bit of respect. Understand?
She gonna be so mad.
She gonna love that.
Ain't she? And it ain't even Friday.
Because me need now. Tinia mesro biano. Yama busia church here, you know. One Sunday. Amen.
For the dudes who ain't here.
Now, moving on from food and beverages, let's talk about another aspect of culture, hairstyle. And I'm not just talking about genetics and hair, because we do share the same hair for the most part, but I'm speaking specifically about hairstyles, how you style your hair. That is very cultural. And every single hairstyle that you can find in Black America, you can find in Africa. Every single one.
The hairstyle is not punk rock, it's not Mohegan Indians, because a lot of people relate it to the Mohegan Indians because that's all they know. There's a tribe in Africa that calls themselves the Mandinka warriors. They wear their hair in this fashion. They wear feathered earrings, they wear diamond and gold, they wear the finest there is, and I'm proud to be a descendant of the people. And that's the reason why I wear this. And the changes in gold is symbolic of my struggle, because my ancestors, we was brought over here, we was shackled by our wrists and our necks and ankles. But now I turn those shackles into gold, and that offends people. People ask me and say, do that gold get heavy? Nobody asks my ancestors, did those changes get heavy on their neck? You know? But it bothers them because they know the gold is valuable. But that's the reason why I wear the gold.
Yo, one thing I'm still lost about is why people still think we're Africans. We don't even look alike.
I got a question for Black Americans that think they came from Africa. Okay? Listen up. Have you ever seen an African from Africa over there with an afro and a beard? I'm waiting. No, you haven't. You know why? Because we're not from Africa. You know what I'm saying? We're not from Africa. Their hair don't grow like ours. They don't grow beards. They don't.
Okay, Black Americans don't look like Africans. Well, let's play a game. I'll show you some women and you tell me if they're African or if they're Black American. Let's go. African or African American? African or Black American? What you think? What about her? She Black American? Is she African? What about her? Let me know. African? Let me know what you think. African or Black American? And her? Okay, what about her? Black American? African? All right, now it's time to reveal who's African and who's Black American. Drum roll, please. They're all African.
Did you know that? No, you didn't.
And what's interesting about this is it's not just because they're Black. They are highly melanated people with skin complexions just as dark as any Black person who look distinctly different than Africans. You have dark-skinned Indians, you have the Aboriginal Australians. Even within Africa, you have different groups that have distinct phenotypes. You got the Khoisan of South Africa with the epicanthal ifolds. You got the Dinka of Sudan and South Sudan. You got the Habesha of Ethiopia and Eritrea. And although there are Black Americans and other Africans that may resemble these groups of people, the group of Africans that the Black Americans most favor are the ones from West Africa, which is the same place where the slave ships allegedly left from, the same place where the slave dungeons still are to this day, the same place that shares the same food, a lot of the same food. There was a whole lot of coincidences.
So Bugs Bunny and the concept of a trickster rabbit generally are going to come from African American folklore from a character called Brer Rabbit. As a slight correction to my last video, it's going to be Warner Brothers, not Disney, that makes Bugs Bunny, but ironically enough, both Warner Brothers and Disney steal the concept of Brer Rabbit at different points in time. So Brer Rabbit is a trickster rabbit in African American folklore, but you can actually find this concept throughout the diaspora. Brer Rabbit is going to be traced back to trickster figures in African folklore, but other cultures also have this idea of a trickster figure or a trickster animal or even a trickster rabbit. I can make another video about this, but the concept of trickster, being a trickster, is very important in both African lore and African American lore. It seems pretty obvious why enslaved folks would be telling a story of a trickster rabbit who uses their cunning to get out of situations from people or animals who may have more power or more strength over them. These stories are going to be passed on orally in African American culture, but again, you can find it throughout the diaspora.
Next, let's talk about music and dance.
Unbelievable tale of a historic song. Centuries ago, an enslaved African woman passed on a song that gave her ancestors clues on where they came from. In 1931, linguist Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner hit record on Amelia Dawley, a Gullah Geechee woman in South Carolina, belting a 5-line song. Little did he know it was a melodious time capsule. A decade later, Turner uncovers the song's secret. It's in Mende, a major West African language. The Gullah language wasn't broken English. It was a hidden cultural link between Africans and Black Americans. In the documentary, The Language You Cry In, Amelia's daughter, Mary Moran, journeys to a remote Mende village in Sierra Leone, reconnecting with her roots. Anthropologist Dr. Joseph Opala goes village after village with the recording until a woman named Bendu Jabati starts singing along. She knows the song and explains it's one of the tribe's oldest, traditionally sung by women at funerals. This 5-line song confirms the Gullah connection in Sierra Leone.
One day I walk on a Cambali lily. When has the will go see how you quenda ya? Has the will go dwell in the quaint? Has the will go see how you banga lily? Has the will go dwell in the quaint?
Thanks a lot. Now what you've just done there is what's called polyrhythm. And polyrhythm, poly means many rhythms happening at once. And this is the basis of African music. Polyrhythm is also the basis of Black diaspora music, with one exception. The one exception is music from the United States. All the other Black diaspora musics are polyrhythmic. And we're going to explain why that difference is and what difference it makes. All right then, so this is what a musician had to say. Anyone know who this is? Right, this is what Dizzy had to say. Mama rhythm is Africa. Africa's children in the Western Hemisphere use different means of expressing their closeness to Mama. The Brazilian Africans created the samba. The West Indians created the calypso. The Cubans created the rumba and various other rhythms. And my own African American is blues and spirituals, says Dizzy Gillespie. All right, now the general importance of Afro-Cuban music is Afro-Cuban music is the most African music in the Western Hemisphere. So Afro-Cuban music is the most important from our perspective because it's preserved the most of the rhythmic sophistication from Africa. All right, now what affected African American music? Can you see that's the front cover of a Wynton Marsalis album? Yeah. And the front cover is called Black Codes from the Underground. Most people don't know what the Black Codes are. Black Codes, English, Code Noir, French. Code Noir. What the Black Codes were about was suppressing African culture among African Americans. And one of the ways it was done was to suppress the drum. Once the drum was suppressed, the drum disappeared from African American music. And then the rhythmic sophistication, the polyrhythmic sophistication, also disappeared from African American music. So the big question now is if you're an African in America, the Code Noir has been passed and they suppress the drums. What are you going to do in response?
The Juba dance was born from enslaved Africans' experience on the plantation. Brought to the Americas stripped of a common spoken language, this dance was a way for enslaved Africans to remember where they're from. It may have looked something like this. Slapping thighs, shuffling feet, and patting hands. This was how they got around the slave owner's ban on drumming. Improvising complex rhythms, just like ancestors did with drums in Haiti or in the Yoruba communities of West Africa. It was about keeping cultural traditions alive and retaining a sense of inner freedom under captivity.
when I sat down with Marvel and said, hey, yo, for me to write this script, I need to go to the continent. I need to go like right now. It started in South Africa, and I was hanging out with cats that was working in a hotel, and they took me back to their township, and they were like, hey, let's go do the ritual. And what we pulled up at our house, and it was a bunch of young cats standing outside, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this feels familiar, you know? And then, we go in and we walk to the house, and then all the OGs, I say from age like 50 to 70 was sitting in one section. And I'm like, that's what happens at my house on weekends. So then we keep going, and we go into the kitchen, and the women are in there cooking, and they talking, and they cooking all this food. And then you go out into the backyard, and there's some more young cats, you know what I'm saying, like my age, and they had just slaughtered a cow and a goat. And they were, cooking the food, and they were passing around this real cool African beer, and they passing it back and forth. And I'm like, man, what ritual is this? And they was like, oh yeah, this, I can't remember the name. We've been doing this for thousands of years. And I was like, well, we do this same ritual back at home. For them, it was a no-brainer. They were like, yeah, of course you do, because y'all African.
We are comparing hand clap games to what we do here in the U.S. and what they do in Brazil. And please show them this one you just did. And we go double this, double that, double this, double that, double this, that. And then can you do this? I forgot about that. Okay, go. Is that shame? That is shame. And we go. Shame. I don't want to go to Mexico no more. There's a big fat policeman at my door. He grabbed me by the collar. He made me pay $1. I don't want to go to Mexico no more. Shame on you.
Green. Wow, Steph Curry missed a wide open 3. See, 2K21 is trash. Oh my gosh. Did I tell you to wash the dishes? What?
Pictures have just been released showing the result of white people trying to suck their teeth. Scientists agree. It's simply a black thing.
And the last reason, the primary reason why I believe Black Americans are African, the reason why this discussion hurts me the most, is all of the Black American historians that dedicated their lives to the history of Black people, to the history of African people. They all say that Black people in America are from Africa, and they consider themselves to be African. Let's start with number 1, Carter G. Woodson, aka the father of Black history, the man who created what will become Black History Month. Here are just some of his works. We have African Myths and Folktales, The African Background Outlined, African Heroes and Heroines, The Negro in Our History. And if you look at the table of contents, the first chapter starts with the Negro in Africa. And his most important piece of work, The Miseducation of the Negro. Here's how he starts the book. And I believe this is the reason why so many Black Americans don't want to embrace African. He called it out almost 100 years ago. The educated Negroes have the attitude of contempt toward their own people because in their own, as well as in their mixed schools, Negroes are taught to admire the Hebrew, the Greek, the Latin, and the Teton, and to despise the African. So they have contempt for their own people because they despise the African. Next, we have these two men. These two men, I believe, are the most appropriate to talk about when it comes to this topic. We have on the left, Runoko Rashidi, and on the right, Ivan Van Sertima. Runoko Rashidi specialized in the history of black people, of Africans outside of the continent of Africa. So black people were in India, black people were in Turkey, Iran, Europe, anywhere black people are outside of Africa, that's where he focused on. And of course, he considered himself to be African. On the right, we have Ivan Van Sertima, who is not FBA, who's not Black American, he's actually Guyanese. However, the reason why he's so important to this discussion is because he literally wrote the book on the topic. His book, They Came Before Columbus, which talks about the African presence in the Americas before Christopher Columbus came. And if you look at the title of the book, it's not they were here before Columbus, it's that they came before Columbus.
And so this aboriginal indigenous nonsense, which is just that, to me is one of the worst things that's happened to our community in a very long time, and it needs to be called as such. It's nonsense. I think it's anti-African. I think it's destructive to our community, and it should be nipped in the bud. And anybody who engaged in any kind of critical thinking wouldn't have any difficulty finding the fallacy of it. Much of it, I think, stems from an anti-Africanism. I think that there are people in our community who would rather be called turds in the toilet than an African. I do believe that, because we've been taught to be so ashamed of Africa.
But what we kind of taught about our own African American culture is that it's a bastardized culture. We taught that, we lost, the things that made us African. We don't have them anymore. You know what I mean? Like we had to make do with the scraps. But what they did to us, it was no way they could wipe out what we were for thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? Something right there just made me completely whole. Like I was like, oh man, we've been African this whole time. When I stand outside, like when I hang with my family on the block in Oakland or Richmond, and all the youngsters stand outside, and my grandma's inside cooking, you know what I'm saying? And we being Africans, and even though we were told it was being hood, or it was being something else, we was being true to what we've been for thousands and thousands of years.
I'm a Pan-Africanist. I believe in the global unity of African people, and anything that attempts to sabotage that, I'm opposed to. And so I think that feeds this aboriginal indigenous nonsense. And I think a lot of it is the result of a lack of critical thinking. As a matter of fact, I even question whether it's an African thing. I think that you have white supremacist organizations that plant these seeds, even give false African identities to further split the African community.
I 100% believe that this is the case, and I'm going to go over the reasons why in my next video. So please subscribe and stay tuned.